Good morning, Tim.
Morning, Donna. What are we talking about, Donna? Lead us forward.
Anger, irritability, and emotional hair triggers. So, what we
Yeah.
probably talk about seeing red, people that get so angry over something so inconsequent, like losing your keys, and all of a sudden you're flying off the handle. Family
Yeah.
talking about walking on eggshells.
Yeah. I think the gold in this conversation, Donna, is that we're not trying to, it's not about fixing anger. It's about helping veterans and first responders realize that, hey, I'm not crazy, but my system got trained for survival and now it won't switch off. A lot of, in my observation, a lot of veterans and first responders aren't actually angry people. They're exhausted people carrying too much pressure for too long.
Yeah.
And the hardest part is you can still function. You can still go to work, crack jokes, still get the mission done, whatever you're doing. But then, yes, the closest people are walking around on eggshells. And deep down, you know that.
Hey everyone, I'm Donna Hoffmeyer, host of Beyond the Front Line, and welcome to Collective Collaborations. This is where we stop skimming the surface and start digging deep. Each series, we take one specific topic that matters to our community and we break it down piece by piece with the experts who actually get it. Our current collection is Fuck, I Thought I Was the Only One. Veteran and Breathworks in Bed founder Tim Thomas and I look at the invisible weight we carry out of high-stress careers, from chronic pain and isolation to survival mode anger, and how we use tactical breathwork to physically change our biology, turn off the alarm, and actually heal. Let's get into it. Well, and it's funny because when you feel like when we are in doing our mission, right? We have an output. Like we are laser focused. We are we have a mission to perform. We have tasks to perform. We have to work as a team. We're in survival. We have to make sure that we don't get hurt, nobody else gets hurt, the objective gets met. There's very, very specific stuff. And so we have all these heightened senses going on. We're hyper vigilant and we're on point, we're strategic, and every one of our senses is heightened. And then we come out in the civilian world and we still have this, what we're trained to be, this heightened sense. That nervous system is on go, is on go. We have nowhere to put it. We have nowhere to output. So what happens? We get irritable because we don't have an output. Like we're trying to figure this out. And when the irritability gets enough, it could be the quote unquote hair trigger. You lost your keys, or the dog pooped in the house, or something that is on any given day, like, Jesus kind of thing. And this day you like lost your shit. Next thing you know, you punched a hole in the wall. Your
Mm.
family's walking around on eggshells because the irritability is built so much. The nervous system is feeling under this threat because it hasn't figured out how to shut off. We're angry. We blow
Yeah.
up. This
Oh,
blow.
you're dropping truth bombs here, Donna. And I also believe that when we've trained a part of ourselves to see threat, when you're in a threat-free environment, it starts thinking, well, I need to create a threat so I can still live in Tim's head. And so when I'm in the civilian world where there's no threat, I'll start creating threats. Oh, what's that box on the side of the road? Is there wires coming out of it? What's that guy looking at? Is he going to try something? Is he going to come over here and try something? And then you're playing these scenarios on how you could actually respond, and you're cooking your nervous system. But the reality of it is there's no goddamn threats. I've just got a system in my head that's creating all this stuff that's not even there. And I didn't even know I was doing it.
All right. So when you said that, you saw my eyes light up, start smiling. The other part of that is that we don't always have the self-awareness that that is happening, right?
Mm.
We don't always know. And the reason why I'm saying that is because a gentleman, it was a veteran, was telling me one day, he's like, yeah, he's like, something happened, went down. And when I was at the stop sign, I got out of the car and he just went up to the other car and started yelling at the car, like the driver.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not normal. Right. And I could see in his face, he did not understand he was reacting. He did not understand that that is not a normal state. It was his normal state. He did not
Yeah.
know any different, but it wasn't him. It was that driver that cut him off or I don't know, whatever it did, didn't put a signal on or something like that. And he lost his shit and went off. And I just remember looking at him like, wow, yeah, okay. And I
Well,
think the wife was, yeah, his wife was next to him, and you could see the shrink, like, oh my God. Oh, like she knew, and he didn't have awareness of it.
well, the problem is anger actually feels good. It's a really mindful emotion where when you're in it, nothing else matters. All the pain goes away. And it's almost like you're looking for a reason where I get pushed enough where I can be justifiably mindful. Because when that guy was punching on the guy's window, there was no other thing in his mind, no other worry, no other concern. It's rather intoxicating. But with that hyper scanning, I call it my threat radar, becomes exhaustion. And I know for me, anger was often the only emotion that still had enough energy to come out. And I noticed when I got angry, it was like writing a check for $1,000 when I only had $10 in the account. It worked for that moment, but then afterwards it just put you further in debt.
Well, literally, probably the best transition that you could kind of go into. I want to read some data points. I told you, and
Yes.
all these, I was going to nerd out on you. And then we're going to talk about the why, right? Like you said, like you wrote the check for $1,000, you popped off, and I bet it felt damn good. You
Oh, it
release
felt
that
amazing. All my worries go away when that's happening.
when you get to just
Everything
let
just
it
makes
loose
sense.
till afterwards, right? And then after you're like, oh shit. So here's some of the fun facts that I thought were interesting.
Before you start them, I think I know the ones you're going to share, and mythically, ancient Chinese text says, "Hold your anger for a moment and save 100 days of suffering."
Yeah, well, that goes
And
into
and,
the
and the
first one.
data that is going to be shared here will probably talk about how much we damage ourselves.
Well, let's talk about that according to that saying, because this is the one I'll throw out for that, the little research data, the amygdala spike. So we talked about the amygdala, and I think we talked about it in episode 5. We'll talk about it again too, is that the amygdala is this, it hijacks your brain, and it's
Yep.
what keeps us quote unquote safe. It thinks thinks we're under threat, and it will keep us safe. So 60% amygdala spike, and this is a research from December of last year, 2025. Research confirms that sleep deprived brains show a 60% increase in amygdala reactivity to negative stimuli. So when we're tired, our amygdala is actually more apt to kind of come online, so to speak, to react and to end up causing us to get into that irritable state and then into anger. Like we're not regulating essentially.
It's like a smoke alarm that's way too sensitive. You're
Yeah.
making toast and then it starts screaming. We and that's what happens when we're always detecting threat, urgency, danger. Eventually, our body forgets how to stand down, and then you just put the toast on and beep 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 beep. Whole house is upset. Open a
Nothing's
door.
nothing's happened. And what's really interesting, the VA did some research that came out in March of this past year, and they're actually saying that the most reported symptom on post 9/11 veterans is actually irritability and angry outbursts over flashbacks. So we think PTSD with we have this whole kind of classic look on they're having flashbacks and all that. And they're actually more of them are having irritability and anger outbursts.
Oh yeah, and that's a yeah. That's not something to be ignored.
So I'm gonna put you on the hook for this on the spot. So because you're always very open and honest about your story. So I'm trying to see if I'm asking the question properly. You've experienced this, correct? The
Hmm.
anger and the irritability. What was the impact for you? What was the impact, and how long did it take you to kind of become self-aware of what was happening?
We will be right back after this short break. When you serve your community, you deserve a team that has your back. At Coming Home Well and the Transitioning Warrior Outreach, we proudly partner with Big Frog Custom T-shirts and more of New Braunfels, Texas. As a veteran-owned local business, Big Frog delivers top-quality company-branded apparel, custom shirts, team apparel, or personalized gear with unmatched service. Support the business that truly supports our heroes. Visit bigfrognb.com today. Thanks for sticking with us. Now back to the episode.
Anger was sitting underneath the surface, taking up so much energy. Imagine you're on your laptop and there's a background program running. You don't know it's running, but it's making everything really slow. Like you try and type T, you press the T button and it takes like 2 seconds to come up. So that's how much of my processing power anger was taking up. Life became really hard. And guess what? When life became hard, what did I go to? I became more angry. And if you want to talk about the impact on our bodies, cortisol is good, gets you up, gets you going, but too much cortisol for too long, and combine that with anger. Anger sort of comes on the last bit of your adrenal fatigue. Then that drives your testosterone into the dirt. So I've had a lot of success with myself and other veterans, especially male veterans, looking at their hormones and getting their hormones in balance. And a classic sign of adrenal fatigue is turning into the Incredible Hulk at the drop of a hat. So all the people out there listening right now that find themselves getting angry, notice, do you have extreme cravings for sugar, for alcohol, for bad foods? Because these are the sort of fishtailing compensatory experience. So like if the car's fishtailing one way, you've got to turn the steering wheel the other way, and you've got to sort of, we tend to sort of try and create balance by all these other imbalances. And what it looked like for me was I had to drink half a carton of grog before I could speak to my then wife.
It's
Then
grog,
wife,
alcohol.
grog is alcohol, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah.
so yes, the world we currently live in did a very good job at giving me compensatory things from the downstream effects. So anger was upstream. Downstream of that was no sleep, emotionally shut down, anger at everybody. And I found myself feeling quite shameful because I kept on saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't even know why I'm saying, I'm just like, that person's hurt something, I'm sorry. I felt like I lost a lot of my, I guess, masculinity because there was so much shit going on that I didn't understand. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, just like some exhausted child. And that obviously fishtails into shame. I want to feel better. I'll drink more. I saw a doctor and I lost many years of my life to pills. Downstream of anger issues, downstream of not sleeping.
So
Did I answer your question, or
you
did
did.
you want me how I found my way through that?
No, no, not yet. We're going to get to that. No, no, you did answer my question. So I will tell you that when I would, and even now with veterans, but when I would work with service members, I typically would hear the same story, that who noticed first was the spouse or the kids. And the veteran or the service member at the time, but that person couldn't hear it. They couldn't. So my question to you is, did your family notice it and try to make you aware, or did they just compensate and do eggshells and tiptoe around you? Because that's usually what happens first, is that they're compensating for a long time before people really say
Yeah.
anything. And then by that point, I noticed they're saying is almost on deaf ears because they're so deep in their compensation of alcohol or whatever it is. It just turns into a really bad cycle. What was your story, I guess, is
Okay,
the
sure. So,
question.
well, my then wife said, you came back different from this deployment. My
Yeah.
husband came back different. And because I was in it so much, the anger, I just had to do certain compensatory behaviors. So mine was get up early and spend the first few hours of the day either exercising or going spearfishing in the ocean.
Constructive,
And
at least. Yeah.
well, yes, but if you got in the way of that, then I would go super dark. And that's when
Mm.
they would go on eggshells. Sure, we'll go to your mum's place for breakfast. And with the idea that looking back, it's like I used my state of being like a threat.
Yeah.
If I don't get what I want from this situation, I'm not gonna like the whole. You won't like me if I get angry.
I have met people. It's funny you say that. It's the simmer underneath that I've met, and I know that you see them, they're nice enough people like that, but I there's something that tells me if you pushed it a little bit and it wasn't in a way that they liked, you would see a whole different being. Like I could feel that simmer underneath them. Like, I'm good. Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm good, but don't test
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
kind of
listen to
thing.
what
So,
I'm not saying and the way I'm saying it. There's that sort of psychic space that the unseen word is don't fucking push it. Um,
and the thing
it
that people need to understand is when you're over here trying to compensate this, like you're in protective mode essentially, and that's where that don't test me thing.
yeah.
Your kids, if you have children and your spouse, they are picking up on this energy. They live with
Uh,
you. This is not like, oh, well, I went to your mom's house and we're fine. Like, no, energetically we are not right. Those kids are picking it up. Do not think
mm,
for a moment they do not know what's going on. But kids are amazing. They're just going to compensate. However, they'll stay away from you. They'll
mm.
don't bother daddy.
Well,
Don't whatever.
Donna, you just spoke to something really powerful there because, like, the dangerous thing is not the anger itself, it's the isolation that comes as a result of it. And isolated humans become a whole lot more reactive. And our intention for this podcast, fuck, I thought I was the only one, this podcast series is to have people and their isolation broken. And if you're getting something from this, like, oh, I thought I was the only one. This is kind of what we're trying to talk to here, because anger's one thing, but the isolation that we do to ourselves and then the compensation that other people have, it gets super dangerous because you're exhausted. Anger just makes you stupid, but it gives you a moment of, oh, everything seems right in my world.
So it's funny you say that. I was just looking at my little nerdy notes over here, the data points,
Drop some
and
data, Donna.
yeah, dump some data for you. So that we're talking about these anger outbursts, right? Ironically, they have a term for it, which IED, which we know as is uh
Yeah, improvise explosive device.
improvise explode exactly explosive. What's the D? Oh my God, I just blanked out. What'd you say?
Improvised explosive device.
Device. There we go.
Yeah.
So I was just laughing. I'm like, IED. They use the term as intermittent explosive disorder, which honestly is no different than the IED that we know. That's just a physical, that's a intangible, I mean, a tangible, inanimate object. And physically, we're doing the same thing. We're exploding. And they said this is a from PubMed, this is a 2025 study that the prevalent rate of intermittent explosive disorder, IED, these symptoms are significantly higher in combat veterans, but it's often, and I can't even believe we're saying this in as late as 2025, it's being researched, and it's often being diagnosed as a bad attitude rather than a physiological neurological shift. that to me, that's a little insane that we still are like, he's just a dick. And it's
Yeah.
like, what, like, wait a minute. You're coming back from combat and you're coming back from war. Where are we still getting the prevalence that that person's just an ass? When they left, they weren't, or when the deployment before, they weren't. And now all of a sudden they are. That,
Well, I mean, you can be a dick, but if you're not sleeping well, if you're not close to your loved ones, or even aware of your own state, that's where obviously no one's perfect here, and I'm not trying to give people a free pass, but
mm-hmm.
Often the question that is asked of veterans that gets the most truth is, if you ask a veteran, how you doing? They'll say, I'm fine. Okay. Well, would your partner say you're fine?
Oh, and you're going to get the look. I've done that before. I'll be like, okay, what does your wife say? Or what does your husband say? And then I get this like, oh no, like, oh yeah.
No,
I
yeah.
lovingly call them out. I called them out all the time. I mean, but in the best ways, in the way of like, you sure about that? Like, we got you, but you sure about that? But I
Mm.
mean, there's a couple of things you said that actually the research supports kind of the comments you made when you talk about the hormones, right? You said one of the first things you want to do is try to get people to work to get their hormones in balance, back into balance. So this was some research in 2025. It indicated that the wired state, which is high cortisol, stress is high, low testosterone, in transitioning warriors, significantly lowered the threshold for irritability, which is pretty much what you just said. Like, when your hormones are out of whack, you can't not be more irritable, which makes me laugh because why is that such an aha? Because the joke on the female side is menopause. And as soon as we're hitting menopause, we are losing estrogen, we're losing our nurturing hormones, and we become the don't give a fuck society. So, again, our hormones are changing, getting out of whack, and we're responding. So, why would we not think on the male side that this doesn't happen too? So, high cortisol, low testosterone, and guess what? You're more irritable. And this is not male exclusive. It's just saying this one
Well,
specific,
the,
cortisol and
the
testosterone.
societally accepted sort of thought patterns come out here. So if a female's acting erratic, oh, she's being hormonal. That's an awareness. But when a
Yeah,
guy's acting erratic, you're being a dick. Pull your
you're a
freaking
dick.
head in.
Yeah.
And no one's actually looking at the unseen part of them. And I can say this with a surety. I have personally helped probably over 500 veterans go from states of adrenal fatigue, which the symptoms of looked just like PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
Adrenal fatigue, when your head's always scanning for threat and your focus is out there, you've disconnected from your body, so you go past fatigue, you go past, and then you're compensatory with your cortisol and then your anger, then the cost that has on the body, you can't think your way through this. The body keeps the score long after the job's done. And at some point, the body needs to know there's evidence that it feels safe. And getting your hormones back in balance, it's like telling your body, hey, we're safe again. That pit of fatigue, that gets filled up and balanced out. So once I had my hormones balanced, and hundreds of other veterans had the same experience, they were like, oh, I didn't even know I was fatigued in these areas. I just thought it was normal to act this way. And then once they got their hormones in balance, their brain started coming online going, well, if I got such benefit from balancing something that I didn't even know was out of balance, and I've got some energy now, well, what else is out of balance? Oh, maybe I might go start looking for a good psychologist, because you really got to look for them. And so once I got my hormones balanced, it gave me enough energy to look for 6 years before I found a good psychologist, who then again didn't just talk about it, showed me how to unlock this stuff through the body.
I'm going to
And so,
plug on this to help
yeah,
save people from 6 years, because there's two components of it. There's one, you have to have the right type of therapists. And I'm going to say for a lot of people that have been through a significant amount of trauma, and a lot of us in the military, especially our subcategories, special forces, and all these people, anybody that's had significant trauma, you don't have to be special forces to have significant trauma, but anybody that has, you've got to find the therapist that is trained in that, and that is a trauma-informed therapist. And I am not knocking therapists that are not trauma-informed trained, because that's different. That is some of them will tell you, no, I am not trauma informed. I do family therapy or depression or anxiety or something like that. That is not related to like a complex trauma or something like that. That's okay, because they're probably very wonderful in their world. I'm not knocking them. But when they are not the right type of therapist for what you have going on, it is significantly different, and it's going to slow your healing down. Number one. Oh,
No,
you want to
you
say?
go. There's something
Okay.
I'll share at the end of this, please. Yep.
Number two, we're human beings first and foremost. You have to connect with that person. So you could have somebody that's trauma informed and has all that experience, but you're not connecting for whatever reason. It doesn't matter. You're just not connecting. A good therapist, if somebody goes to him and say, hey, I'm not connecting, hey, let's see if we can find you someone else that is. That's a really good therapist. They shouldn't be offended and they shouldn't be on the defensive by it. And I say these as hopefully a couple hacks to shorten and not take 6 years to find the right person. It is okay to advocate for yourself. It is okay to say, I don't feel like this is a fit. It is not okay to use it as an excuse to not be going to therapy and saying, I can't find somebody. That is not it either. So I'm going to also caveat that one. So, all right, Tim, that was my plug.
No, no, no. And the thing is, not all healers are born equal. And when
Mm-hmm.
people are vulnerable, they're looking for Superman to fly in and save everything. And a lot of marketers promise that. And you'll go, that's exactly what I want. Shut up and take my money. But then money will leave your pocket, years will go by, and people end up blaming themselves. And they thought, well, that was exhausting. I'll never try that again. And I've had so many veterans come to me saying, Tim, I tried to look for help, but help didn't help. It actually made it worse, right? But in Australia, we have a thing called the digger net. Okay, the digger net is quicker than the internet. So in Australia, we call soldiers diggers because we
Okay.
do a lot of digging, right? And it, I want to plug something right now that worked for me and has worked for others that I've referred them to. Okay, in Australia, there's what's called TRTP, the Richards Trauma Process. Now, this process I would not have believed unless it came to me through the DiggerNet, a trusted network. And their claim is that trauma is solved in less than 4 sessions. Okay, these aren't people building a business model on having you come back.
Huh.
And this is why often you don't hear about this sort of stuff, because these guys are focused on your healing. And I'm like, that is bullshit. There is no way. But because it came through a trusted network, I thought, well, let's give this a go. And the best way for me to explain this is that psychologists study really hard, but no one actually tells them that the trauma goes down deeper than the words can reach. TRTP, the Richards Trauma Process, gets down to those depths and pulls it out easily and effortlessly. And so if anyone out there, and I only say this because I don't want to just talk about this and not give options, TRTP is available. It can be done even via Zoom if you can't get into a place. But it's something that I've experienced, other veterans have experienced, and I would be very comfortable in handing people I care about into that process, just as something that I want to give something that if people go, okay, this is what I'll try, I can book it in straight away. Here's my options, because they don't want just a conversation. They want options moving forward. So I just thought I'd drop
That's
that in
good
there.
though.
You can Google that yourself, but that's been something that has worked exceptionally well and incredibly little time needed.
Well, and that's kind of, and we're going to get to this in a little bit, but talking about why these different modalities are important, right? that we're
Yeah.
bringing the ones with breath work. We're going to talk about that a little bit, but it is extremely important. And we'll get into that in a moment. But there's a couple more data points that you brought up that I'm going to back you up with some nerdy
Let's go.
science here. So we were talking about the
Donna,
first
data
one.
drop, incoming. Donna, data drop.
About the spouses picking up on this first, right? And so there was again 2025 study, survey. It was a survey that revealed that 80% of first responder spouses identify irritability as the primary barrier to healthy family communication. So I tell people all the time, like, look, if you can't sort your shit out for yourself, then maybe start with sorting it out for those that you're impacting around you. If you can't start that way, because I personally feel at the end of the day, you've got to come to that point where you feel worthy enough to do it for yourself. However, if you can't, start with the people that you're impacting, because we are all service before self people. And we know if we're impacting other people in a negative way, that doesn't sit right with us.
Yeah. And you ask any veteran, do you need help? No, you don't need help. Yeah, I'll help others. Others, yeah. Well, how about we help the ones who are closest to us?
Yeah, start there. So easy to go help a stranger. And then, like, your kid's back home missing his parent because you can't connect. So, yeah, think about that. So, here's another one. You said this a little while back, and I want to back it up. You've said a couple times that the anger, the irritability, it's exhausting. So when you're irritable, we have that, and like you said, it's like a processor. It's like a negative processor in the background that's constantly running, and so it's exhausting because it's running and running and running. It's just wearing out your battery. So this was from Psychology Today, July 2025. Psychologists note that for every 1 minute of red out, so when you blow up, 1 minute of it, it takes the body 10 minutes of recovery to return to a baseline chemical state without intervention. That doesn't say you come back to baseline. That just says that nobody has to like pin you to the ground or nobody has to take you out. That's just to get to a point where you can hear somebody and you're not going to
Yeah.
just react, kind of thing. Every minute, it's 10 minutes of recovery. That is insanity. So you have a 3-minute outburst, which is really a long time, but you used to have that. That's 30 minutes.
Think of your drive to work, any veterans and first responders. Think of your drive to work. How many minutes of that are you wanting to get out your car and punch a windscreen?
Serious.
And even if you, I get you.
I just
cooking yourself before the day starts, just in traffic.
Yeah. And so, and then here's the other thing. I'm going to throw this one out too. We started this conversation talking about our outbursts, and that when we are in service, so whether that's we're deployed, doing the mission, any first responder is on the job, that they've got to stay focused on the patient if it's an EMS person, the dispatcher has to stay focused on making sure that person's calm enough to get the right information. The police officers staying really calm to make sure that they're not escalating a situation that's already escalating. The firefighter staying calm, make sure that they don't burn to death, et cetera, et cetera. So this was, again, another 2025 data. It suggested that 74% of first responders experience emotional labor, meaning they must suppress anger on duty, leading to a more explosive outburst at home, the pressure cooker effect. So it's funny because you can put military on this too when they're in those situations. I was thinking about in Spokane, up in Washington State, we have what we fondly call Ass Beat School. It's POW training. So for civilians, prisoner of war training. I know that's weird, but God forbid that ever happened to us. We need to know how to respond so we don't literally sing like birds and give away every bit of information. And
in Australia, we call that RTI, resistance to interrogation.
Yeah, there you go. and they're not nice. And I know, like, trust me, they nice.
Yeah.
And they can't be. You got to train like you play or play like you train. There you go. You've
Did you
got to
have
know.
like two different types though? Like we had red hat, blue hat. So blue hat RTI was they had to go with the Geneva Conventions, but then red hat they didn't have to play by that.
So medicals are like were Geneva Convention, and we had our own. Our training wasn't quite the same at the time. I did it when I was a flight nurse. We had training, but it wasn't the same. Now they all do the same training, and I kind of agree with it. Not that I really want to be there getting my ass handed to me, but they all do the same training. So it used to be different, but I believe they pulled it, at least for the Air Force. I can only speak for the Air Force, but they pulled it all together. But what was interesting, so ASPE school. So those instructors, they're there training you. And part of the training is getting physical with you.
Oh yeah.
So you're getting thrown into a wall. My husband came out of there with purple, and my husband's a big guy. He's 6'2", 250. And he came out of there black and blue and purple.
Wow.
And the purple was actually better than what it was. I mean, it was black and blue. And I mean, it was just really bad. I'm not going to say what they do because that's kind of part of that training and probably not out there for public knowledge. But let's just say that they come out hurting puppies for this training. But what they learned afterwards, so they have to rebalance them. So it's 3 days of escape and evasion kind of stuff. And at the end of it, so then they have like a graduation, and then the instructors come in as friendly again, because instructors ain't friendlies. Those are the bad
Oh
guys.
yeah.
So they have to come back in. So you shake their hands and can see that they are human and not the enemy kind of thing. But they told them, a lot of them, my husband said the biggest guy was on him because this guy was massive. He goes, he made me look like a dwarf. And he goes, he was the gentlest guy. And he said when he went home, he had a decompression room because he had 3 little girls at home. So he would come home and he would go right downstairs. Nobody talked to him for 30 to 45 minutes while he decompressed for the day and then came back up. And just for everybody's knowledge, it's very well monitored. This is not like they just let him go. These are under cameras. They're constantly watching and
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
I say that because they're doing this high intensity, high stressful job. And when you come off that and go home, if you're still in that same adrenaline, be
Yeah.
dangerous. And so if they're having any problems, if they notice any differences, they will pull them and make sure that they are okay, because they can't let them loose on people and not be in control.
Yeah, it does speak to the somewhat unnatural nature of what it takes to, let's call it, serve your country in these unique capacities. And it also speaks to the idea that energy can't be destroyed, it just gets transformed. And the image I had
Yes.
in my mind was all those, I'm just thinking of police officers, and they're always getting yelled at. And the yelling energy that goes through them, it, if not checked, gets yelled onto the people they care about. But in the moment, they have to suppress it, but it's not going anywhere. It's blowing up the balloon that then gets decompressed afterwards.
So when you come home and you haven't channeled it properly, and who are you most likely to strike out to first, verbally
Yeah,
or emotionally or
it
whatever,
goes
is the
downhill.
closest. Yeah, the closest to you, because they're supposed to be the most forgiving,
And,
which,
and, and this is where our society, we can't think our way out of a survival state. At some point, the body needs evidence to know that it's safe. And it sounds like that big guy on the course, he found his space to
right.
expel all that angst. Oh, I feel safe again. And for me, that's why breath became so powerful. And not because it's like trendy these days, but because it physically changed my state so quickly.
Well, that's a good transition. We're going to talk about that. So we talked about this before we started this podcast, and I said to Tim that I really wanted to hit this home, is that the way we are trained in our service, military, first responder, police kind of thing. And I'm gonna use the military as a probably the better example for this state. But I've joked around in the past, like if somebody is like, oh yeah, they're like a sniper, and I'm like, oh Lord, I kind of roll my eyes. And this actually was actually a true story. I had a couple, and the fiance wanted her civilian, by the way, no military background, never dated military veteran, anything. And her fiance was struggling and wanted to get him help. And so through some conversations with another friend who knew me, they referred him to me for resources. And I'll just say in the short version, when I assessed the situation over a little bit of time, I realized that I had to get her out of the situation because it was in a domestic abuse situation that was happening, and I couldn't help him. And ironically, he was a sniper. That was his MOS in the military. That was his job in the military. And I went, oh God, I just sighed. And she goes, why? I don't know what that means. And I was like, okay, well, the simplest version of this, and I'm going to caveat, I know there's snipers out there that are like, I'm not like that. And yes, I know you're not like that because you're healed and making the right choices. So keep being you. But everything that they are trained to do and lauded for in the military, they can go to jail in the civilian world. You know what I mean? You're a sniper. There, that's hitman out here. That doesn't work, right? That's so in the military, we have a mission, and that is normalized, and that is what you do, and you are awarded and rewarded for that. And you are trained specifically for that, and you take that and then you pop it out here in the civilian world. What do you do with that? And so you've got all this skill set and all these survival instincts and all this stuff that if it doesn't get shut off and learn how to be managed, you have what we have now somewhere in Austin that's high on drugs that we can't get our hands on him. And he's lost his family, his daughter, his fiance, and all that because he was domestically abusing her because he wasn't able to, his compensation is atrocious. So okay, so having said that, setting up that scene is like we have skill set that comes out in the civilian world and we can't shut it off. And what we've done in the military are things that some people would not understand. And even in our other services, first responder things, the things that we've done doesn't translate into the civilian world. It's just different world. So what I want people to understand is that self-awareness is the critical factor here to me. I don't personally think, and somebody can argue with me, and Tim, feel free to challenge it. I don't care. But I don't personally feel that you owe anybody an explanation but yourself. And I don't mean that you have to explain to yourself. I mean that you have to come to a state of awareness and understand you were trained a specific way. You had a mission. You did this stuff. And you did the best you can with the tools and the resources and the survival skills that you had. But all of that does not translate into your next transition in the civilian world. So now you've got to become self-aware of what works and what doesn't, and learn new skills and put some of those tools that are not serving you, put them away.
Yeah. Yeah. See, a lot of veterans, when they feel like something's wrong, they say, I've got to fix my life, right? But what they should start with is changing their state. Because it's the state that served you well in a particular environment. That state of being is no longer serving you. And you can try and fix all these things, and there's plenty of people out there that'll take your money to do certain things for you. But in my experience, it starts with changing your state and doing that in a way that you can regularly come back to telling your body essentially, we're here, we're safe, we can stand down, we can stand up. it's okay to drop my guard for a second. It's okay to be gentle on myself.
Yes.
And that's quite a practice where if you would drop your guard, somehow something bad would happen and it would be your fault. I can't stand the idea of something bad happening on my watch. So unfortunately, what ends up happening, and this is the bitter pill I didn't want to swallow, that my state was saying if I drop my guard for a second, something bad's going to be happening and it's going to be my fault. But the bitter pill that I didn't want to swallow, that was hard for me, was I love my family. How can I be the one that causes them pain?
We're stepping away for a quick break to hear from V2M Veteran Magazine.
Looking for stories that truly matter to our military community? Discover V2M, the Veteran Magazine. Read online at v2mag.com.
When I'm the protector, I'm the,
Yeah.
When how can I protect but be causing pain at the
Yeah.
same time? That doesn't compute. And so this is going to lead into the breath work. Like, we're going to talk about that now, because what I want people to understand, and if you've listened to my regular podcast, like Beyond the Front Line, you will hear this throughout the different podcasts, that talk therapy, although can be very helpful, and I'm not knocking it, is not the only way, and it's not the only path to healing. There are other ways. You don't always have to go sit in front of somebody and say, oh, when I was in X location and then this happened and this was my response and this is how whatever, and I feel. You don't have to do that. There's so many other modalities that you can use. And at some point, do you feel like you might need to talk about it? Sure, maybe. But if you look at this physiologically, the reason why we don't want to talk about things is because of how it makes us feel in the simplest form, right? If you're going to talk about something that makes you feel like shit, you're going to go like, ooh, let me talk about it. No, we don't want to, right? We don't want to go back because our brain doesn't know the memory from reality. It just is like, oh, we're thinking, and so we're going to feel it. And then I don't want to feel that.
Essentially, to back up what you're saying, essentially it's very difficult to give words to something that existed before words existed. And by what I mean by that is, us as human beings, before we were thinking and sentient and putting paintings on rock walls, we had an ancient nervous system that interacted with the space around us. And and this is what no one tells psychologists, the trauma goes down deeper than the words can reach. And when I'm working often with psychologists, they study for 8 years to have a gun that can shoot 25 meters really straight. But the trauma has a target 2 kilometers away. But the veteran says, I'm shooting exactly, the psychologist says, oh, look, look how long it's taken me to make this gun, and I can shoot straight for 25 meters. And the veteran's like, you're not even getting close here. All right. And these ancient nervous systems that the trauma's impacted on, for the person experiencing that, it is particularly difficult to try and explain themselves to others. So why even bother? And again, that tips into that very dangerous space of loneliness, because it's not the pain we can't handle. I believe we can handle all stuff if we feel connected to people next to us. It's the sense of being alone in it.
That's true.
When we're alone, that is the opposite of feeling safe. Saying
Which is,
it's okay to be gentle.
so I say all this as a setup to say that don't be afraid to try other modalities. And in this series, it's specific to breath work. So I'm going to throw this other nerdy data out for you, and then you're going to take it from here in the anger management and how we're going to handle that with breath work. So 2025 study found that, this was Science Daily, found that psychological based intervention like breath work was 30% more effective than traditional talk therapy anger management for veterans with TBIs. To me, that makes a whole bunch of sense.
To me, 30% is a very modest
Yeah,
amount of
probably from what
difference.
you see.
Yeah, well, and I would, let's not just talk about this. If you're open to it, I'd love to give everyone a very easy way to find out what your own breath can do for yourself, and it gets to speak to all those deeper places that words can't reach.
Go for it. I'll let you lead the way. That's what we're here.
Sure. Okay. So everything's an invitation. So I'm going to give you one right now to help gently connect to your own body. I'm working off the fact that right now people listening to this aren't in a heightened state of anger. So I'm going to give you a little something now to make you feel good right now and give you a sense of what your own breath can do. And it's actually something I was at the gym early this morning, and if you want to see a fatigued person in the gym, look for the personal trainer. Okay? I'm walking past this personal trainer, and he's looking particularly fatigued. And I know him, and just gave him a high five, and we got talking, and he was saying how he didn't sleep, and I said, look, let me give you something right now, and I'm gonna give it to you guys too. And afterwards, this guy, he was sort of wiping away the tears in his eyes because he was that fatigued, and this was the first time he'd actually got to access his own body as opposed to making it move, jump, and helping others. And the invitation for everybody listening is, do you give permission to your own breath to make every single part of your body and mind feel really, really good?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So all we're going to do is take a deep breath in and hum, but hum through our nose. Okay, so stage one of this is just breathe in. Breathe in with me. Breathe in. And then just hum it out through your nose. For as long as you can. All the way out. Feel that vibration. Very good.
I have like a lot. I think I have a big lung capacity because I really can exhale for like 30 seconds.
Are you saying you could talk underwater?
Oh, I probably could. My husband would
Just-
probably be right there
I'm
laughing,
getting
saying,
you.
yeah.
I'm getting you. That's okay. So you probably noticed there was a vibration going through your nose. Okay, now that's good to know because behind your nose there's sinuses, right? And there's a particular gas that gets produced when we breathe through our nose. It's called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is good for mood regulation, brain function, cardiovascular performance, accelerated recovery, heart. It's a vasodilator. Okay, nitric oxide. And when we hum, we increase the uptake of that by like 2,000%. So what I'm going to show you right now is a very easy way to maximize this nitric oxide and create a state that connects you back into your body. So this time when we breathe in, what we're going to do is breathe in and then with our right thumb, put it over our right nostril. So we're humming out of one nostril. And then with our pointer finger, we're pinching the air off on the other side. So for those of you listening to this and they can't see this on video, you're pushing your right thumb into your right nostril and you're blocking that one completely. And your right pointer finger is pinching on the other side to restrict, not to stop, but to restrict. You want to be able to sort of slow the hum down by restricting the air coming out. Does that make sense, Donna?
Yep, it does.
Okay. So all we're going to do is breathe in. So breathe in with me. Put your right thumb over your right nostril. Gently pinch it off with your finger and then just hum. And notice as you hum, you can restrict the air coming out. You can slow it down and let that vibration go a little deeper into your system. Just let it go out. This can go on for 30 seconds and that's perfectly fine. The longer you hum,
I don't want to kill the audience.
Taking that nitric oxide.
So
How'd you go, Donna?
That was good, actually. I think I got the rhythm on that one. Yeah, it's a fine line between shutting your airway off. That's not going to work. But yeah, it's
just restricting it.
Yeah,
Okay.
everything feels like it's vibrating, like the whole.
Yes. We are literally putting a frequency through our sinuses and brain when we do this. All right. If you're feeling comfortable with this, all we're going to do is take another deep breath in, do exactly what we did. Right
Okay.
thumb, right nostril, pinch it off. But this
Okay.
time we're going to push our jaw forward, okay, like we're trying to open our sinuses, and we're going to feel that vibration going through our, is it called eustachian tubes? So,
Okay.
so we're going to do exactly what we did, but we're going to try and push our jaw forward and adjust our jaw so we can feel that vibration. It'll feel like it's going into your ears, into your brain. Does that make sense?
Highly recommend doing this in your bedroom or a bathroom.
So everyone just take a deep breath in. Breathe in, look up, breathe in. And then right thumb, right nostril, pinching it off, start humming, and then push your jaw forward. And feel that hum go into your brain. And do that for as long as possible. Feel that deep vibration.
So you know what's funny? I have eustachian tube dysfunction on my right side. And so I feel the vibration different on each side because of that dysfunction. So it's always a little more clogged. So obviously the vibration would be less sensitive, I guess. But yeah, I can feel the difference.
Well, I would actually, if you've got a, potentially there is a chance to bring a certain amount of healing to that space by giving it a little bit more attention
Yeah,
with
and
this. And
vibration in there. Yeah.
you might actually get a bit more healing if you block off the other side, your left thumb, left nostril, and hum, so you can put pressure down on the other
Oh, on the other
side if you're,
side. Yeah. I wonder if
yeah.
that does. I have to try that there.
So let's just try this again, but this time we're going to use our left thumb on our left nostril, and we're
Okay.
going to use our left pointer finger to pinch off our free nostril. So just take a deep breath in, and then left thumb, left nostril, start humming and pinch off, jaw forward, push your jaw forward. I invite you to close your eyes
Oh,
and feel that
wow.
resonance. Yeah.
So what was happening, well, what I think is happening, can't see in there, but it was like getting louder and quieter. So probably because it's blocked half the time. But it was, I have to do that more often to kind of see if I can open that up more. They keep threatening me with tubes in my ears, and I do what every good medical person does, ignore it. So yeah, they have said you should think about tubes in your ears. Maybe I could do this and open it up.
Well, giving yourself that dose of nitric oxide and having
Hmm.
that, pushing that jaw forward, because often when we get tension, we clench our jaw. So a lot of veterans have bruxism, they're chewing at night.
Oh yeah.
So that little modality, that humming, is what I would recommend people do. Set a little timer on your clock. So before you get out of your car, before you go into the shops, do 2 minutes of that humming. Before you leave the house, to get in your car to drive somewhere and you know you're going through traffic, set your baseline. Do a few minutes of that humming. This is you literally getting high in your own supply, finding balance, removing the blockages, setting a baseline. And once you've set the baseline at the beginning of the day, you'll become aware if you're straying off of it. Okay? Because I
Tell the
still get the
difference.
thoughts
Yeah.
of anger and stuff and reactionary stuff, but I see it coming from a lot further away and not when it's right underneath my skin and starting to come out.
That right there is a big key too. What would you say, let's say if somebody is like it's kind of creeping up on them and they need something quick to do, like maybe that's this the thumb humming is not an option. Like I've heard
Sure.
of the double inhale. Is that even a thing? Like where they and then blow
Well,
out?
I would do this. So this is something that worked for me. If you're in a
Okay.
state, you've got to decompress rapidly.
Yes.
So I always used to have a silicone pillow in my car. So I would do, you call it a triple inhale, in, open my jaw as wide as I could and put a silicone pillow over my face. And so you notice how you're restricting the air coming out of your
Yeah.
nose before. Well, that silicone pillow restricted the air coming out of my mouth so I could make a loud sound, high, low, medium level scream, and woo, and I could really
Release
create
it.
a powerful sound, which is a frequency, which would then unlock the blocked energy inside of me. And a couple of really loud, you could call them yawns, you could call them screams, a couple of different levels into a silicon pillow. That was a really easy way to decompress rapidly, because I could swallow it down, no worries, but then at the end of the day, I'd have to drink a lot of alcohol or I'd have to take a lot of pills. And I was the guy who had pills not just in his drug closet. I had them in my jacket pocket, in my car, in the fruit bowl, everywhere, because I was using pills to self-regulate, right? But when I started discovering about breath work, that became the thing that I created the baseline with. That became the thing that became like the windscreen wiper on the car as I'm moving forward.
That's probably the most sciencey explanation of screaming in a pillow. That I mean, really, it's what you're doing, but you put kind of the science behind it on what's happening to. But if they don't have, like, I'm thinking like you're in the middle of wherever, like you're at your kitchen, it's creeping on you, and you
Okay.
have to
Yep.
do something immediately, and you don't have anything but your breath, and
Sure.
like,
I'll give you the easiest one.
yeah,
No problem at all. Okay, so a lot of people don't know this, but in their two fingers and thumbs, they have a
Mm-hmm.
power button. Okay, so what I'm going to get you to do, Donna, is breathe in, and halfway through your breathe in, I want you to pinch those buttons and focus on your top third. So the buttons I'm talking about is your two fingers, your pointer finger, your index finger, pinching into your thumb. Okay, so
Okay.
I'm going to invite you to exhale, breathe in, halfway through your breathe in, pinch those buttons and focus on filling up the top 1/3 of your lungs. So just where your collarbones are. All right, so blow it out. Start breathing in, halfway in, hit those power buttons and allow that top third to fill up. In, and hold it and just wriggle those shoulders, wriggle. Hold it and wriggle the shoulders, wriggle the shoulders. Cover your mouth with your hand and let out a big yawn. Open the jaw, yawn.
That's a good one. Not only
Okay.
that, there's a couple of things you have to do that distracts you a little bit. Like, I mean, not a lot that you can't do something, but just enough to say, I've got to focus somewhere, not on my anger.
So that pinch is what I call my circuit breaker. Okay.
Gotcha.
Or if
Like
you're
grounding
like if you're in
almost?
hospital, you've got that nurse button. Okay.
Yeah.
So that, because often when we're breathing, we've been doing it our whole lives, we don't know we're breathing shallow. So when we pinch that that hits the button to then open, wriggle it, and then yawn. And I really encourage a opening your jaw yawn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that little
It's like a reset when you touch your
reset. Yeah. And so I practice this in your own time. Like hit your power buttons, snort through your nose, and practice it in your own time. And then when you're outside your normal space, use that as your reset button. So if something's bothering you, hold it, wriggle it discreetly in public. You can do that, right?
Yeah.
And then that becomes your recentering point, the point where you can come back to. And if we don't learn to do that naturally, this world will sell us unnatural solutions. Now, I'm not against pills. There's a time and a place for everything. No one's talking about these options because no one's making money from it. You only find these things through authentic conversations, which Donna and I are having.
I think part of it's too, I don't think we use the medicine properly. And this is, again, my opinion on this in maybe 30 years as a nurse. But I think, yes, you have an infection. We need the antibiotics on there. But I think we have to get more to medication being the interim fix. So if you are in a state that is so like in depression where you can't function, you probably need some medication to get you up to a point of being able to at least function. That does not mean that cured you. You have to still go figure out the why or what's happening kind of thing. That's not healing. That's just getting you to a state where you can function. So I think we confuse that medicine as like the healing, and it doesn't heal you all the time. Antibiotics stop the infection, but you don't sit on antibiotics for 2 years, right? You're on it for 10 days or whatever that is, and then you're off it. Steroids, you're on it to get some acute inflammation down, and then you should be pulled off it. In very rare cases, you're on it, but they don't even like you on chronically. It's not an ideal state. Medicine should not be a chronic state. It should be an interim state.
Yeah.
And I feel that if we would use this, like, okay, we're starting you here, but in the meantime, we're also going to be getting you on this healing path with the ultimate goal to get you back off this medication.
Yeah, it's a chemical cast. When
Yeah.
something breaks, you got to put a cast on, but then it eventually has to come off. And when it comes off, a lot of muscles need to be strengthened. That chemical cast didn't actually.
Exactly. So that's why, like, breath work, you don't have to have anything. I mean, if you got a silicone pillow, then that's a bonus. But if you don't have it, you still got your breath. You still can
Yeah.
do this. The biggest thing to me is that, like, in this, what we're talking about, anger, the emotional triggers, and that irritability is awareness. That if your family, I mean, you want a quick litmus test, this is what I challenge you, Phil. If you think that this potentially could be you, but you're not there to admit it yet, go ask your family. Ask them and be
Yeah.
like, no judgment. Do you think I'm irritable? And watch their face. Don't wait for the answer. Their initial body reaction will tell you where you're at.
Family members, I did want to share for those family members listening, because they're the ones that are often the ones seeking healing, and they may have come across this podcast to understand this more. And I did want to speak to them, that to the partners and families listening, sometimes the anger you're seeing gets interpreted as hatred. It is not. It's overload, it's exhaustion, it's a nervous system stuck in protection mode. Now, that does not excuse bad behavior, but understanding what's underneath it changes how the healing begins.
Yeah.
And for the veterans and first responders listening, the goal here isn't becoming soft. The goal is to be able to stand down once the danger is gone. A regulated nervous system is not weakness, it's control. And some of the strongest people I know are finally learning how to rest. And I know those of you who are listening, you've carried the weight for everyone else for so long. At some point, learning how to put the pack down has to be part of your way of being.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's sage advice. We have to give ourselves permission to, one, not be okay. It's hard to say that, like, hey, I'm not okay. And then to figure out how to get on that path to be okay. And it does take support.
That's what we're here. That's what our new job is now, Donna. And the whole intention with this series is for people to, with a heart of service, getting them the healing they need so they can bring their unique gifts into the world in a way where they're welcomed, they're connected, they're loved, they're valued, they're powerful, they're confident, they're flourishing.
Because you have value still. And I think everybody needs to understand that you have to honor your time, honor what you've done, give yourself grace for what you've been through and how you've adapted, good or bad, and become self-aware, and then figure out those next steps. And it's just one situation at a time. It's not all of it. It's every time you come up is like, how am I going to handle that? And it's a conscious thought at first. It's not subconscious.
Yeah. And I think if we ask the question, how many other people are in the same situation as us? And if you can give that a number, then all of a sudden you're starting to see that if you can get through this for you, you can get through this for all those other people. And you've got all those other people left and right of you cheering you on, willing you on, and if you can see those people before they appear in your life, before they say, hey, we're so glad that back in 2026 you chose XYZ to move yourself forward, because then that helped us move forward. If you can see those people before they actually come into your life and say that, you are ahead of the game, my friend. Ahead of the game.
Know what you're doing is having an impact. It's going to have an impact. So improving you and who you are and living your best life is helping other people live their best life. It really is.
If there's a million other people in your scenario, if you've only made an inch of progress, well, then that's a million inches of progress. Consider that.
Yeah, that everybody else says, okay. So, and if everybody's doing that, and everybody else is seeing everybody else trying and doing their inch of progress, then you're in the collective, right? So, all right. We could talk forever, couldn't we, Tim?
It's been very, very enjoyable, this session. I was looking forward to it, and I believe that it was a good session for us to discuss, but I also believe that there's going to be people listening to this that are going to say, fuck, I thought I was the only one.
And then here we are.
Here we are.
In the collective. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to wind this down, and we want y'all to take a breath. Hey, thanks for sitting with us today. Remember, you aren't alone, and you definitely don't have to carry this weight by yourself. To find more community resources, head over to cominghomewell.com. And to start using your breath as a tactical tool tonight, check out Tim's work at breathworkinbed.com.au. Don't forget the AU. Take a deep breath, and we'll see you next time.